걸어도 또 걸어도 자꾸 돌아오는 쳇바퀴 같은 여긴 조여오는 시간의 수 어둠 속에 눈을 감아도 날카롭게 파고드는 고통의 조각 퍼즐 멈춰버린 내 그림자 긴 절망 한숨 속에서 살아가고 있지만 내게 주어진 삶을 계속 살아가 반복과 실험 속에서 살아가고 있는 지금 내게 필요한 건 오직 너뿐이야.
그때의 너와 내가 찾아보지만 무지 시간 속 닳고 달아진 지금 우리와 마주할 뿐 흘러가고 있는 지금은 살아남아야 해.
귀를 막아도 또 막아도 자꾸 들려오는 선명한 네 목소리 두근두근 뛰는 가슴 너의 손을 힘껏 잡아도 슬금슬금 올라오는 나의 아픔 멈춰버린 시계바늘 긴 절망 한숨 속에서 살아가고 있지만 내게 주어진 삶을 계속 살아가 반복과 실험 속에서 살아가고 있는 지금 내게 필요한 건 오직 너뿐이야. 짙은 어둠 속을 헤매고 있어 난 거짓과 위선들로 가득해버린 이 세상은 외로운 나 홀로 걸어도 또 걸어도 자꾸 돌아오는 쳇바퀴 같은 여긴 조여오는 시간의 수
알 수 없는 하루하루 두려움이 슬금슬금 선명해져버린 아픔 주어진 삶을 살아가 세상 속 빛을 따라가 멈춰버린 시계바늘 오늘은 알고
긴 절망 한숨 속에서 살아가고 있지만 내게 주어진 삶을 계속 살아가 반복과 실험 속에서 살아가고 있는 지금 내게 필요한 건 오직 너뿐이야.
Hello everyone, a fairly new employee for Nimble Neuron. Sadly, Wendy was not able to escape military. The security was a bit rougher than we imagined. In a way, this is my first time talking to you guys outside of Lumipedia, so I'm a bit nervous. I'm here with Wolf1, the director of Eternal Return. 소개 부탁드립니다.
Hello, I'm Upfront, director of Eternal Return. Thank you, ladies, for playing our game, and thank you for visiting us today.
Yeah, including the last emergency dev stream, we're at the 7th dev stream so far. And yeah, once again, thank you for coming to watch, and let's get started. It's been 2 years of early access so far. Should we put it as that Eternal Return is hurt, and in Korea we also say the game is sick at the moment. We wanted to do a lot more celebration for the 2-year anniversary, but sadly we didn't think it was the timing, and hopefully we can get back to you guys soon about that. But so far, thank you guys for being with us. Steam stats are open to everyone, so some of you guys may have already checked, but yesterday, actually, well, not yesterday because we had the dev stream, but 2 days ago, our players were 4,436. We do have support from other platforms, but Steam is still our main platform, especially for our non-KR regions. We sadly had players asking if the game would still be operating next year, and that really stuck with us. That's likely why this time the dev team had so much to think about. We thought and reflected over the previous actions. To start the reflection, we looked at the graph over the last 2 years of our early access. The noticeable part is the high spike at the 50,000 concurrent players. While it's easy to just simply summarize the graph as a simple peak and a drop, we believe that each up and down has its own stories and patches. MEOW if not guys, it's not pre-recorded. But yeah, we'll get into the nitty and gritty. So we separated into 3 parts. We saw the first 6 months, the middle 1 year and a half, and the most recent 3 months, which is season 7. We feel like these 3 periods have different nuances and show different patterns. So the first section, the first 6 months, was a pretty crazy time for Eternal Return. I joined the game as a player somewhere in this section, a little bit later in the drop, but this section included a 50K player peak to a point that it confused even our own developers. They apparently were checking the numbers and seeing it go up and were wondering why it was even going up at that point. But we definitely had luck playing on our side, and when the game was on the rise, we had a huge Korean influencer play our game. And seeing the huge spike, Wolfneem actually left a message in Slack, which is like a Discord for work, talking about how while players had shown good reaction to Eternal Return so far, we're going to be facing challenges if we don't develop as a team and game. The only place would be downwards. We were aware that this bump of population was an inflation and not something that would be consistent moving forwards. While pre-ranked era of Eternal Return was fun and brought us a lot of memories, people forget the issues that the game had, like there were no lit distributions, no final zone, as in no final zones. Like not the old final zone, it just didn't have final zones. You can see that in this period, we hit the peak, but we also had the fastest loss of players. The next period is the longer period of 1 year, where we stayed around 10,000 players for a while. We also had players from different platforms at this point, as we were connecting with other companies around this time as well. Games in general follow these trends, where early on, game inflates a high player number, but quickly bleed numbers until they hit a fairly steady average between the ups and downs. We originally thought the game would continue falling harder after the first period, but it didn't. Apparently they call this trend a rectangle pattern in stocks, where the numbers fluctuate within the peaks and the lowest. Hold on, let me get some water. Wolfneem was actually contacted a few times about the graph, as some folks were surprised ER was able to sustain over this year. Throughout this 1 year, we were given a lot of opportunities, which we are thankful for. And we picked 10,000 players as an important point, not because we were satisfied with it. Our actual goal is 20K. 10K was just significant in that it showed potential to us. But we can meet this goal of bringing up the average. For reference, daily peak does not always show the actual number of players in a day. You can multiply the daily peak by 5 to 6 times-ish to get somewhat of an idea of the total daily users. Therefore, 20,000 peak players would mean we would have around 100,000 players logging into our game daily, which would also put our game around top 50 on Steam. The game industry is often seen as winner takes all, where 1% is remembered and 99% is forgotten. In our opinion, 20,000 would put us at the border or the edge of being one of those winners, like hitting rank 199 for Immortal. Obviously, success rate games are considered different based on genre. For example, single-player RPG does not need heavy player bases, while casual games would need a lot of players to be considered successful. For 1 year and a half in our second period, our goal was doubling our player base. We kept thinking that maybe if we made a few more good season features. And we did scratch that point with Cobalt Protocol at one point. We kept continuing and being hopeful, especially with Battlezone and hacking coming into the game eventually. But hopes don't solve everything, and our numbers decreased rather than increase. And we were put into a spot where we started doubting ourselves even more. Like, will introducing hacking as a feature really get us to our goal of 20,000? And we even started wondering if we doubled our player base, would Eternal Return still be sustainable? Reviewing the last part, Season 7 is a really tough task to analyze, as there were a lot of problems that we found. The big changes, save plan and skill and rework, were sorry about that, unsuccessful to the point where we had to host an emergency dev stream. In the Q&A, a lot of questions regarding Season 7 were often found, especially how lackluster they were. For example, Escape has been largely forgotten by a lot of our players, but in the dev team, we believe that the number 3 was also a huge issue, where Eternal Return has gone through strains after strains after strains of patches and new features added through time. In number 4, it's no secret other games affect player base, and we've had great games released this year as well. There are also more issues we haven't included here, such as balance, bugs, and optimizations, but we recognize these issues as a longer-term issue instead of specific to Season 7. So we'll get to the balance, bugs, and optimizations a bit later in the presentation instead. To go back to number 4 and show an example, you can see the player drop in the graph here, or at number 4. This is when players started watching over a second time in a video game. Each time a new shiny game is released, it does affect our player base. This is natural among other games too, and happens throughout time. However, games such as Eternal Return should normally have good new features that raise some of the numbers back up while bringing in returning players. This season, we failed to do so. The timing when our player base was supposed to spike back up through new features did not increase our numbers. So we continued to drop from where we previously were. We had other perspective on the season as well, as we had dangerous drop in new players starting around mid-season 6. Even when we had new players to the game, their retention was not great. You can see the drop here around the 3 mark here. It's not as noticeable since we had school break for Korea, so the number was a bit more inflated than it actually was. And regarding the 5th concern, this perspective is probably the saddest take out of all of them, and something we all think about here and there. As the ER team, it's something we have to, but it's our job to prove to our players and investors that no, Eternal Return is actually just getting started. One of the statements we see here often is, it feels like the company is ran by old man who don't know video games that ignored the young employee or gamer's thoughts. And regarding the old part, while sad, it's true. We are fairly old. To be fair, I think it's you guys being too young and us, you know what, it's whatever. Don't worry about it. Director Neem wanted to cross off the who don't know video games part due to his pride, and I think it's true. He has a wide range of knowledge regarding games, even the ones outside of ER. So he put a triangle because he still does think there are some other workers and players that know a bit better than him. But the part regarding ignoring other player opinions is something that we want to talk about. On the opposite spectrum, there's so many different ideas from coworkers and players that finding which direction is correct is just not that simple. Not only that, deciding to go with one direction can disappoint players that wanted the other direction. So every day, Wolf One stated that every decision he makes replays in his head over and over and over if it was the right decision or not. But we're not here to talk about our struggles and stuff like that, and we're here to talk about the game today, so we'll keep this part short. Looking back, we ended up thinking a lot more. We have a solid goal of 20,000 players, but we started looking beyond just solid numbers. So, what is Eternal Return to us, the devs, and what is ER to you guys, the players? Well, we've had diverse meetings at our workplace, and often it's discussions on why we chose to work at this company and what our strengths are and that kind of stuff. While the whole thing was strange to us at the start, it actually made us think beyond our original frame of thought while talking to coworkers. While we had coworkers from multiple different teams, the main idea that seemed to pop up a lot was simply, we just want to make a fun game. It's easy to get sidetracked while working on the game as it requires focus on so many different parts, but that's it. We just want to make a fun game. At the beginning of 2022, Wolfneem had a presentation regarding the game for the company. He even talked about how different parts of the brain works, like which parts are responsible for our basic survival-like needs and which parts are responsible for our emotions. To summarize, we just wanted to make a game that would be fun, cool, gets your heart beating, and that your soul demands. These were his words, not mine for reference. He also talked about what kind of changes ER would need to touch all of these aspects, as we're not there yet, but in the base of it all, we just want to make a kick-ass game. So this news is probably a lot less familiar to you guys, but a few weeks ago, after our season finals, we had players send us a coffee truck, so us and other coworkers could get some refreshing beverages while working. Usually getting a coffee truck from players is a dream for developers here in Korea. This is also how the sipping headgeon emote started. Drop is like the sound of someone drinking from a cup with only the ice left. But this was surprising to us, and I'm sure to you guys as well, since the season had been fairly rough. We thought compliments would be something we wouldn't be getting, especially with how rare compliments tend to be in the gaming industry. But we also understand that this wasn't really just a compliment. It was more of a drink this, cheer up, and do better. Be better. And we want to thank you all for sticking with us so far through the thick and thin. We'll keep trying to do better. And while reading comments like why ER failed, ER deserves to die, Nimble Neuron's problems, Nimble, please fix, it does hurt, but we understand that these are out of love and care. And I see you guys fighting and feedback regarding these kind of stuff all the time, but just understand that this is all out of love. So we really, early on, mentioned publishers in the previous slide, and Eternal Return is a really odd game for publishers. Publishers looked at us and thought, how come this game that isn't earning much money getting so much support from the player base? Like we said before, the coffee truck was a huge surprise, especially for the manager over in our publisher that starts with K. One of the representatives basically said, never thought I'd never ever be sent a coffee truck in my life. But I think this event really solidified to our investors and publishers that there is still potential for Eternal Return. Obviously, numbers still matter a lot for investors and publishers, so we'll keep trying our hardest to hit the 20,000 goal. So, TLDR. Our job consists of 3 things to help us get there. Make a good, solid game, make a fun game, and communicate with players. So we're going to look into what we should and what we can do. So regarding the 5 issues that we found, we are going to separate them into upfront projects and long-term projects. We're going to be building Eternal Return to address the 5 issues, and we'll start with 1 and 2 in Season 8, and the rest will be for a longer-term rebuilding in Season 9 and Season 10 and onwards. So here's the upfront changes. One of the issues that we've been getting is that the game flow is not fun. The game itself is at a problematic state, and solving problems actually cause more problems for us. So for example, Craft Factory was boring, and no one was fighting, and they were only looking to third party. There was lack of clarity between DPS and tanks, such as DPS going full tank and still being able to do one-shot combos. And there were nothing to do as a player when you were left behind. So we try to solve these problems, and we try to encourage fighting by nerfing some of these aspects while encouraging good tempo. We did a skill up rework for the lack of clarity, and we installed the escape system for players who were left behind. But that caused the issues where wins are simple in that it's very object-centric. So you see an objective, then you just go to an objective, and that's just repeat and rinse. Legendary items no longer fit all. It's gold is gooder has been the rule for a long time in Eternal Return, but it has no longer become the case, especially with all the changes to the items. And regarding escape, is just not a charming feature for a lot of our players. So let's diversify our game plans. And this is one of the biggest challenges and something that we ended up ruining throughout the past seasons while during the patch. So our past looked like we were able to win without fighting, and it was kind of boring to play. In the present, getting rid of ways to win without fighting is now boring because there's no other sub plans. So when will we ever find true balance between these two? Well, we'll get to that throughout the presentation, but the main plans, objectives, definitely need a backup plan for players. That's something that we learned. So while this might seem weird that we're adding more objectives when we said objectives are problematic, just think of it this way. So at night 1, there's a meteorite and 2 Tree of Life. So if you split this in an 18-man lobby and everyone is going to an objective, it's a 1v5 at that point. And we all know this is not an exaggeration when I say there's sometimes 5 to like 6 people at an objective, right? So by increasing the objectives in the map, we are, it's not a direct fix, but we are elevating some of the issues with it. So instead of 1 to 6 and 1 to 9, we're making the ratio to 1 to 4.5, especially with the 3 battle zones coming out for each day. So this should lower objective contest while giving more objective choices. And regarding that, we're going to be lessening the gap between gold and purple legendary and epic items. And this is, of course, due to the fact that we'll have more special materials now. And at the moment, objectives are really powerful because having a few legendaries can make you undefeatable. And this is not something that we find as a healthy game plan. Also, we want to make sure legendary items will still be good. So don't worry about that. That will be, throughout the gameplay. All right, well, now let's get to it. Wild animals now give credit. And I don't mean killing mutant animals. I mean killing wild animals will just give credit straight up. Previously, you had to kill mutant animals, but that was RNG. There were even points where you would only need like 2 or 1 more point to summon something, but you just don't get any mutants, and there'd be nothing to do. So, wild animals over objectives should still be a sub-plan and not the main plan, but it gives players something to do and a way to come back. And wild animal respawn timer is going down. And this is something we learned in Cobalt Protocol, where players had options and different timings to do things. And killing wolves rock now. I thought it was pretty funny, but originally this was really problematic when rare materials were, well, really rare. And farming wolves was a really strong game plan. At the moment, no one checks wolf corpses, and there's zero expectation. Like, zero expectation. And there's no fun in that, right? Like, the best thing you can get is a heated oil. But the game has changed since then. Rare materials are not as rare anymore, and meteorite items have been implemented. Also, don't get me wrong. Here's the thing. The rates for the meteorite are not that high. That if you actually really are just farming wolves for the meteorite, it's not a consistent way of playing. And we'll keep changing the stats and the percentage based on how it's performing. But we just want the percent to be there. So you kill the wolf, and before you leave without checking the corpse, you think, bro, what if? We just wanted to build that expectation, just a little bit. And this is also a big one, is shredding legendaries. I hated the gold is gooder, but not for me meta. So now you can shred legendaries that you don't want and get credits. So, also regarding this, later on, we'll have more options. We'll have like an adaptive force kind of beat where people can choose between attack power and skill amp choices. But that's coming later. But so for now, we're going to be doing the shredding legendaries. So at this point, you're going to be shredding legendaries, you're going to be killing animals, and you're going to be rich. Like, you're going to be Jeff Bezos rich. So what do you do with all this money? Well, now we have instant delivery. Well, not instant. 2-second delivery. Sorry about that. Fake advertisement. But we originally started with 20 seconds to 10 seconds. And this time, we're just going to be starting and trying 2 seconds. And for solos, we're going to be lowering the console cooldowns to 50 seconds. For team modes, we're going to be keeping it to 60 seconds just to make sure people can't really stay in one zone and camp it to get all the objectives. So instead of being another objective that's frustrating and annoying, and when someone takes your item, it's the least fun aspect of the game ever, it'll be a chill shot you can use every 50 seconds. So we're also still pushing for more diversity because it's something that our players demanded. And one thing is that healing reduction does not work on food anymore. And we're going to be lowering healing from food in general as well to counteract this. But instead of having healing reduction as a must, now it's actually just a choice. And if you feel like it's good for a matchup, you can use it. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to. And we're going to be making epic foods work a bit differently. Instead of a temporary thing, we're going to be making a permanent stat bonus. So what does that mean? You're going to be getting 3 of these. So in squads, you're going to be able to split it between your teammates. But who am I kidding? You guys are not going to share. You guys are going to all chug 3 of them and get all the bonuses, okay? And of course, I think this was really expected. And it's the escape revamp. And I'm really excited about this. So there's going to be more chances to get the actual regeneration cuffs. I know there's been a report that there's too many this week, but if you check the bugs, it was actually bugged. It was dropping way too much. It doesn't actually drop that often, but we will be increasing the drop rates. And the last stands aspect, where in team modes only one person can escape, now applies in solos too. So if there's someone else trying to escape, you actually have to fight. And there's a chance that you might get hunted down. Making a rootkit tells everyone in the game that you made a rootkit. And you can't TP to the escape zone for 30 seconds. Originally, we made it so that if you made a rootkit, people could see where you are on the map. Then we realized this just impossible to escape, because every time you make it, people would just start chasing you down. But in general, we're trying to make escape more rewarding. Since we have more risk involved with it now, we are free to actually elevate or increase the rate of the escape LP. And if you successfully escape, there might be also a potential 1 kill as well. But we'll be monitoring this since it's basically a whole new system as well. So make sure to give us a lot of feedback as well. So let's look at how the gameplay flow looks for Season 7. There's obviously the looting phase, and then there's the objective phase, and it bottlenecks the rare materials. So if you look at this gameplay flow right now, you can gain credits, but this is RNG, and you have to use the console, which is also a semi-objective to get the rare materials. And air supply drop and corpse is a different way of getting legendary equipment, but this does not guarantee that it's an item that you would want in the first place. So if you want the legendary equipment you want to fight, you would basically have to go to objective. But in Season 8, it's much better. It's even got colors now. So we're going to have more chances for people to get rare materials through the shredder, through the console, wild animals, and now we have another end game plan with escape, and we have epic food as well with the new rare materials as well. So we're removing some of the bad things from the game. Why keep them if they're bad, right? First of all, we're removing some of the weapon masteries that are unfair. We consider removing everything but attack power, attack speed, and skill amp like the good old days. But we decided to do something different moving forward with mastery, and we'll get to that a bit later. But for now, we're fixing the most problematic traits like Tafa's defense and some weapons armor penetrations. And now Wickerline pathing will show. There was a bit of a discussion in the NAEUSA community about this, but we believe that intuitiveness is best, especially for new players. So, spoilers. Another bad that was reported was how bad the output calculation was. So dying to a low MMR player, if you're a high ranked player, was really bad. And if you're a low ranked player and you saw a high ranked player, you would be kind of rewarded for trying to grief them, but this will not be a thing anymore. It will be based on average MMR of the lobby, but we'll also have another MMR calculation rework in the future as well. love shot or double death. I wasn't really sure how to call it. It's called love shot in Korea, but it's when two players kill each other at the same time. There's been a lot of negative feedback regarding it, so we're going to be removing it. Originally, we installed it because the delay between the kill and healing is really hard to notice as a player originally. When you kill someone, your eyes are not on yourself and it's on the dead body. So for new players, they wouldn't know why they suddenly healed up. So we try to add a delay to make that more intuitive without having to actually explain it word by word. But, if it doesn't feel fun for the players, why keep it, right? So we apologize for the inconvenience this feature has brought you guys. And we'll keep making adjustments throughout the seasons to get rid of the bats in the game. And that pretty much wraps up our Season 8 features. I'm just kidding. Okay, we'll talk about battle zones, all right? So, main feature, battle zone. Battle zones are special areas purposely made for battle. Their purpose is collecting data on test subjects that show up in these extreme environments. The battle zones start day 2 and day 3. And you can't leave once you get inside, and once you die, you revive. Special settings depending on the type of battle zone. Winning means mythic accessory rewards. Also, my bad, I should have clarified, it's not called Battlefield anymore. We're in the battle zone now. So this is what battle zone preparations look like. The yellow indicators that usually show restricted areas or restricted areas will now show battle zones. And these icons here will show the marks of which types of battle zones they're going to be. And it activates when turning from night to day. The winner of the first battle zone also cannot join the second. So players have to be careful and think about which battle zone they want to attend. So here's the rules. No escape. If you step out, you die. Low pressure as the player. You can respawn after death, obviously outside of battle zone. And there's more choices. You can go battle zone, alpha, battle zone, or omega, and there's going to be 3 types of battle zones. And if you go to a zone where there's no one else, you can get the items for free and have more time to do looting as well. So here are the 3 types of battle zone. Acceleration. You can shoot more skills with lower cooldowns, but skill shots become harder to hit. Berserk. You could increase stats of damage and Omnisiphin, making powerful combos more lethal, but allowing more chances to turn if you survive the first combo as well. And defense, it gives you a shield when you're out of combat for 3 seconds. Since you can't escape, matchups can feel worse than usual due to how solos work, especially even in squads. Team comms can be mismatched. So with these special factors, we hope players can find bonuses they like to create these situations. So, I know the name is intimidating. Nerve Overflow Gauge, and Nerve Stabilizer. But it's really simple. You have a gauge that goes down with time. You break these drones, then you get more time. And it's installed in here to prevent overly long hauls in the battle zone. We originally used the temporary final zone feature along with the battle zone instead of nerve system, but the old final zones or the new final zones didn't really bring out the best play, and a lot of the times they were actually centered around avoiding fights sometimes. So instead, we decided to install a whole new system. Here are the UIs for the battle zone. As you can see here, UI that is no longer needed in the battle zone, such as items, are just swapped out to show battle zone HUDs instead. So if you're confused about something, just don't worry about it. The game will tell you. Hyperlooping to teammates is something that we've considered for a long time in team modes, but Aisu has won the battle in his grave. You can now hyperloop to your teammates in team modes. This is mostly because in battle zones, if you need all 3 players to join before it starts, and sometimes you just get a bad teleport, it feels so bad. So we're going to be adding hyperloops to teammates as a feature. And not only that, we believe that one of the worst features or feeling in this game in team modes is when you respawn after death. You go back, you spawn in, then you see a different team and you die. And now you're back waiting. So you can see how many players are in each zone when you're respawning. So here are the battle zone rewards. Special items and special materials, as you see here. Higher rewards available based on number of participants. As you can see here, Arc Reactor has the highest cost. And Mythic Accessory is really strong when it comes to active, but the stat is really, really low. So when there's the argument between mythic items versus legendary items, is mythic always better? No. We just have mythic items to be fun and game changing. Here are the mythic items. Since you guys can't read Korean, I'll translate some of it really quickly. But don't mind the numbers as they're going to be changing throughout the polishing. But here we go. Arc Reactor and Karya's Ring, you guys are probably seen before. This is going to be stop for a bit, and then you dash for a bit. This is a shield, and then you move fast. You lose HP for a bit, then you heal HP for a bit. You do damage, and you heal. And then this one depends on the HP that you have. If you're over 50%, then you slow enemies. You slow enemies around you. If you're under 50%, then you heal allies around you. But as you can see here, while this is still polishing, it's 10 attack power and 10 skill lamp. So you don't have to worry about the stats of these items too much. Why even show pictures? Because I'm explaining it to you guys. Okay. Here are the purpose of battle zones. It's to elevate, at least for a short period of time, the unfairness that this game can bring, especially in solo mode. You can't run away in battle zones, and you can play to your strengths with each battle zone type. Less pressure fights with the revives as well. This is great for new players. Being able to go full out at least once. You know, no more moments where it's 10 minutes of scaling, getting good items to just die in 10 seconds. And if you don't know where to go, you can just always go to a battlefield. So this is how you imagine the day 3 to look like with the players. We have people that won the first battle zone and they're trying to scale up. There's players that are planning to go to the second battle zone to get their mythic item or material as well. And the ones that were set back and now looking to escape. So, tutorial rework is probably the most wanted thing from players at the moment. And we're going to be splitting it into 2 pieces because it's a lot of work. But we're going to be remaking the base 1, 2, 3 tutorials. We're going to be correcting the bad information since the information has become outdated. And we're going to add cutscenes and voices. In phase 2, which is going to be around season 10, we'll get to you guys on that eventually later. But we're going to have more in-depth information with new tutorials. But for now, enjoy the video. This is also really early on in the video, so... Ooh. Hold up, give us a second. All right, unfortunately, seems like the video is not working at the moment. We'll get back to you guys on that later. Worst case scenario, I'll post it later on Twitter and Discord so you guys can see it. But yeah, I'm sorry about that. Once again, sorry about that. I will show you guys the video a bit later. But here is a better ping system for team modes as well. It's a lot more intuitive. And regarding the fog, for the fog of war, we actually installed a different type of fog for the fog of war not too long ago. And we put a fog in the fog of war, but it made it a bit too blurry. So we're going to be changing how the fog of war looks and we're gonna make it more intuitive and explanatory. And here is the Uptown and Temple remodel. While it's not done ever, we're pretty much done. But here are some of the examples and some of the sceneries. Boom. Boom. Age has caught up to Uptown just like age has caught up to me. The smaller details and bigger details also getting changed. And here is the temple rework. Things are taller now to differentiate from the floor. We also have fences now to make sure players can know that they need to use like a dash if they want to get across it. Boom. A boom. But yeah, let's look at the season pass then. All right, looks like the videos are not working, so we'll actually get back to that to you guys later as well. But here is the fan kit. And I was told to make sure you guys are clarified that this is not pork and this little piggy is not looking for its parents. Okay? But this season pass is focused on a cozy winter, so I hope you guys are all staying warm as well. Yeah, here's the Adela skin. I personally really love the way it was colored and rendered, really beautiful. And this is perhaps showing a different side of Adela that we haven't seen before. Here is the little Borker, the Yuki skin. We personally think the glove is one of the main points, but also the dual sword is actually balloon swords. Here is the Lee Dalin skin as well, and it's got details with like the little beans as well. And here's the Hyunwoo skin. There is no splash art ready for you guys just yet, but this is probably the most intuitive skin we've had yet. And there's way more with the season pass that's upcoming. I personally really enjoyed the borders this season, so I'm really excited. And there's likely going to be some goods made or merch made with these SD art. So look out for those. And let's get back to talking about the game. Let's talk about rebuilding in season 9. So we said there's upfront problems and long-term projects, and let's get into the long-term project right meow. So there are too many features. The game is no longer stable, just like an illegal construction. This was from a Japanese player who was a fan of Eternal Return, and this really stuck with us. To explain ourselves, when we were making the game and working on the game, Axel, give me a second. We're actually gonna play the videos now. So this is the tutorial. It's really rough at the moment, but the tutorial will include cutscenes like this. And we'll get to you guys on why later on. But we're really excited to have these kind of stuff inside the game. But yeah, parts like when we were looking at the game and adding new stuff, we would be thinking this part is missing. Let's fill this gameplay need. Or this aspect of the game is problematic. We need to fix it. We need more features like this in the game, so we would edit it. And by adding things like this, the weight has become really heavy for the game to hold. For vision, so you guys can see it, here are the features that we added the last 2 years and why the building has become unstable. And the issue is that even the shiniest jewelry needs to be polished. So instead of making new features, we could and should have been focusing on reworking some of these. But even with all of that, we are still going to be adding a battle zone because it's a needed piece that we believe should be in the game. But after that, after the battle zone, we're going to take what we already have and make it even better. With the 3 big questions and directions. Does the gameplay flow? Can new players and returning players understand? And does it run well? As in, is it optimized? Well, it's rebuilding time. And this is one of the things I am asked always about. And why is it not optimized yet? Why is the game still laggy? You guys told us you guys would be optimizing and stuff like that. And these are genuine concerns, but that's because we are ripping apart the backend to repair it. And for example, one of the games, Overwatch 2, there were not many visible changes per se, but the whole backend was actually repaired, and that was not as noticeable. And we apologize, but Season 9 will have less updates. That's because we'll be focusing on actually just rebuilding and optimizing the game. So, no big season features, no season pack, no pass, less system updates, less characters, but we will still have balanced patches. And Season 10 will be the real Season 1.0, as we'll be doing an official release of the game on 2023 July. And I don't think there's ever been a release date for the game, but this is the first time that, it's a dev stream. We say some stuff. Also, we're full sending it. As a thank you to all of you guys, and as an apology for the lack of updates in Season 9, all Season 9 skins will be sent to our players during the season if they attend the free events. And this will start in 2023, around March, and it's going to be around 15 skins. So, let's talk about official release and what that means for the game. As a warning, a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about is really, really rough. And there's a high chance that there's going to be changes. And, we're a bit shy to show you guys what's coming up or what's maybe coming up at least. But yeah. So here is the goal of official release that we talked about before. And let's talk about can new players and returning players understand. And actually, with the help of Gen G, a few months ago, we had a FGT, which is called Focus Group Test with 40 players. And we had them try the game out. But we figured out that without support from friends, streamers, or community, learning the game is pretty much impossible. Basically, if you're not born into an ERBS playing family, then it's rough. We at least hope that we could find where players were getting stuck, which aspects of the game people were having a hard time with. But people got lost in so many parts that we couldn't really find a specific part. Everyone got lost in different parts of the game. So this is why we're going to do the tutorial revamp. We're going to be splitting the work into 2 parts, which is going to be the mid-season 8. And we're going to be putting it into the middle of the season, since we believe that it shouldn't affect the rank system. So we're going to be adding it as soon as possible. And tutorials, the way it works from how we understand it and how others have told us about it from different companies, bigger companies as well. Traditional tutorial, campaign style tutorial, and even cutscenes. That's what we're going to add. And we're not going to stop there. We're going to have text guide that teaches during matchmaking and even connects new players to YouTube guides as well. And returning players and new players, if they ever want to look up content, we're going to be there for them. in the last dev stream, we talked about the 100 new player help project. And surprise, we are a Korean company, so we use Korean when we work. But I just wanted to show you guys a bit of an example of the stuff that we've been working on for how to help new players. So here is like the problems that we found, and here are the solutions. So this is UI problems, save plan problems, matching problems, tutorial problems, gameplay problems, stuff like that. And we're gonna figure out one by one, and it's gonna be even small details and stuff. So for example, we're gonna have better alerts. Right now it just says the tree of life is coming, but we're gonna change it to say when it's coming, and we're gonna include it into 2. So it's easier on the eyes for new players. We're gonna have self-explanatory routing. So we're gonna have a line. It seems that a lot of players actually get lost when they're doing their save plans because they don't recognize that there's a second zone that they're supposed to go to. And we're gonna have better alpha and omega indicator, and we're gonna have player votes as well for team modes. So player votes, the way it's gonna work is that after you end in a game, you can vote for your favorite teammate or the person that you thought performed best. Here, I wouldn't vote for anyone. I'll vote for myself since it says we went 5th place. Another new project that's coming up soon is Operator Naja. So what if Naja was my friend? Early on, we talked about how you need help from friends or community, but what if we had an in-game tool to help guide players with the help of Naja? And we do hope that we're going to have voices and further details with this tool, but it should implement like a natural way for players to learn the game. So let's talk about, does it run well? Well, I know what you guys are going to say, but the reason on why we need more time is that working piece by piece, a lot of the small pieces have already been done, and we have a big chunk that we have to do, but when you're running a live service, there's always emergencies that require immediate attention. For example, the Hyperloop example, the season, that required immediate attention. And we thought about it, and we're going to be focusing season 9 for optimization and optimization only, as this is something that you guys have requested before, that we take a break and actually just focus on fixing the game itself. Instead of taking a long period of 1 year, we're going to try to do a full focus group for 3 months. And if you look at an example, not to use an actual excuse, but that one MOBA game that's pretty big, they took around 5 years. And their map, our map, is 10 times bigger, and we have 18 total players, which is 8 more. I did the math. And for example, if you look at our Cobalt Protocol game mode, it's a lot more optimized than Lumia Island because those kind of game modes are a lot easier to actually optimize than Lumia Island itself. So why does it not run? Well, we never thought the game would actually look like the way it does now. Slower patches with more care versus fast patches, and we chose the latter originally, but we've changed upon that now. But the game that we have built so far and the engine that was actually being used originally are just not matching well. So here's the rebuild process, including the final piece of the battle zone. We're going to rebuild the prime actual frame. And it's going to be UI structure. So every time there's a UI that comes in, that comes out, it's going to be less pressure for you guys. Grid map. Okay, I'm not the most technical guy, but I'll try to explain it in a simple way. Is that there's real-time tracking, like a grid, and then there's like a virtual tracking. At the moment, Eternal Return uses live tracking, but we'll be changing it to grid map to have less pressure on your computers. And we're going to have resource address. We're going to edit that so it's more optimized. We're going to optimize packets as well. And team matchmaking, this might be weird, but the way matchmaking works is that we're using an actual third-party program inside our actual program to have matchmaking. So we're going to rework this as well. And we're going to have the Unity 2021 move. And this is going to be in patch 0.75. So with the new structures, matching and recreating relevant sources. And season 9 is when we're going to take a deep breath and look back and optimize. So it's going to be 3 months of rebuilding and post in-game frames up and pressure down. That's our biggest goals. Right now, even good PCs sometimes have troubles. It shouldn't happen once this is done and all. And quality and performance should both be able to go up. Additional things that we want to work on after these two is we want to fix the loading time, especially the first loading time seems to be really, really heavy and long for a lot of players. So we're going to be looking into that. And our goal is going to be that even if 24 players played on this map, that the game would operate fine. And we're not going to be able to promise you guys a fully lag-free game, sadly, but we want to offer you guys a world where the game runs well with no real trouble. And there will be obviously problems with like independent in each resource, such as animation and effect causing lag due to a bug. But outside that, we just want to make the game as clean and comfortable as possible. So, that's the gameplay flow. This is a really general answer, and that's because it is really, really hard to approach this aspect. And unlike the previous two, which has a question and an answer, this one, it's a lot harder. So one thing is that we're going to have more support for team modes. When we're talking to other companies like publishers, sponsors, and other more experienced game companies, they always said there is no feature of Eternal Return without squad. And the stats prove it. Every time there is a high player base for Eternal Return, squads has dominated in the stats. And it's the most returning mode for new players as well. Now, we understand there is the charm of solos. It's the start of many player experience for myself as well, start of Eternal Return as a whole. And who can forget highlights from tournaments? And the solo rank is weighed really heavily since it is a personal achievement. And our focus so far has leaned heavily towards solos, but solos is sadly not easy to digest for many players. And the player retention for solos is really, really low at the moment. So how are we going to give more support for team modes? Well, solo and squad coexisting is really troublesome to an extent, and it can cause issues, augment tank items. So supporting both of these at the same time has been really, really rough. So we've been only focusing on solo so far. We're going to be pushing for new and light players to go into squad. And did you guys know only 21% of players actually play ranked? So we have a lot of light players than you guys think. So team mode, in our opinion, is also a better learning ground because you can learn through your teammates, the revive system, and follow teammates. Obviously, there will be those times where they'll flame you for like, how come you're not at alpha? But tutorial will include ping and further system guides to help the new players as well. And we'll have different ways where it's like solos till your friends arrive, and maybe you try solos now that you're used to the game from squads. So this is a question mark, but we are thinking and considering changing how hyperloops work as well. We're going to set like a limitation for hyperloop distance other than teleporting to teammate, which will likely have a cooldown. And the reason is that we're changing space itself. We're offering better ways to travel through zones. We might have more zones, and we'll talk about that in the next slide. But we are also considering having 8 squads in a zone. Now that once we get rid of these areas and make like a tunnel or more zones, we should actually have a bigger Lumia Island as well. So when I said more zones, this is what we mean. We're actually splitting the zones itself, and we're going to have areas that can be teleported. So what this does is it's actually going to be less bottleneck, and it's going to prevent third parties as well. Because if you know that a player is at a certain point, you are confident that you can do an objective without being third party, with just random teleports. What are those colors? Okay. And we're going to be changing game 1 gameplay. So we're going to be pushing for faster battles, and we're going to make it more fair. And one thing that we had an issue with in our test group was that they would always fight boars. They would not be full item, but they could not resist fighting boars. So we were really thinking hard on how to fix this and change this. Well, our original idea of loot first and nothing else is going to be likely gone. Once again, every idea that was shared in the last part of the presentation is still a big question mark. It's really rough. It's really far in the future. We're just showing you guys what headspace we were in. So give us a lot of credit, feedback and credits where it's due. I read credits early on, my bad. So yeah, there's gonna be code credits, and we're gonna have higher character stats and less item stats while altering starting TTK to make sure it's viable. And we're gonna make accessory only purchasable with credits and prepping certain items first in best plans. Killing wild animals on the way is gonna be possible now with more stats, and you can maybe even fight enemies on the way. So what does this mean? Is that if you ever get a bad teleport and you don't get the items that you need, that's okay, because you can try different things like killing animals and just purchase an accessory instead for extra stats. And we're pushing for more intuitive and fun replayability. So changes to revive, objectives, and battle zones that we've considered and thought about as well are team elimination required until end of the game, maybe. Really long time to respawn later on in the game if this does happen. Maybe revives even in solos. And legendary air supply drops. Maybe if you open it, you can get like different options instead of having one. And maybe you will even include like a one-time usage item as well. Some changes we're going to be doing and thinking about is also the additional item setups, and it's the food and the beverages. We're not going to be deleting ingredients like we did to curry, rest in peace. But we're going to be keeping the same depth of cooking, but making these the base. So it's more intuitive and easier for new players to pick up on. And we're thinking about like a campfire or a bonfire, so we can get like a whole squad, cooking together. How cute would that be? Another one is camera and drones. We were thinking about maybe putting it as a one type per one person thing, and instead of using stacks, it's a cooldown, and you can have different types of upgrades on it. And summons, such as traps, would also be changed in a different way as well. You get a base, then you can upgrade the base through hunts and air supply, and it would have different effects. So the reason for this is that the stacks right now, the way it works is just messy with the inventory. And not only that, vision seems to be kind of overdone in the high elo. In high MMR gameplay, a lot of the times ranged players would just build like 20 cameras. And, that's not the most exciting gameplay that we wanted. So another one that's always in discussion and we've been considering is master revamp. So we're thinking about maybe removing individual mastery and wrapping into just levels. And mastery is just considered to like a different way to raise levels instead. This is the most visually intuitive, and it should be a new, fresher attempt overall for Return. But instead of having fish and chips do max HP increase, crafting factory do weapon mastery and movement speed increase, different masteries pushing wrong gameplay, causing defensive meta. Maybe we can push for fish and chips actually being like a sub plan to level up, but we'll try to also balance it so that low risk and low return is what's going to happen instead of low risk, high return. And we are also looking at the MMR system as well. There's that one game with the rank system, and their system looks pretty good. So we were thinking about implementing on Eternal Return as well, where you buy an entrance pass with scores, and then you get scores based on kills and placement. So, for example, if you're bronze, it'll be free, but if you're silver, you pay 5 points. If you're gold, you pay 10 points. And every time you get a kill, you get points, and then placement, you get, something like this. And the good part about it is that you can see how many points you have and how many scores you're going to earn or lose. And I feel like this is going to be really good for squads. For solos, we are in more consideration. So, character changes. CC and overutility is something that we've been discussing a lot in the patch notes. And it's that characters at birth are fairly well spec'd And that's an issue with solos. If you are not well spec'd and you see an enemy and you can escape, then it's just GG. And due to the fast-paced characters releases, there was some oversight, and it didn't really align with our new goal and our previous character development goal. So we'll be working on that as we go on. So we're going to continue shaving off CC and utility. We're going to be strengthening role identities, so it's okay for support and 10 characters to have no damage in squads. Initiation, skill range changes. So we're going to be changing skill effects to be, a little bit cooler, fit the squads, maybe even more. So real ultimate, instead of ending in a weird spot and disappearing, maybe it just goes all the way across Lumia Island. And maybe Leon ult goes further and is more of a team support ability. And conditional skill chains. Like Hedge W in team modes right now is really strong, but maybe you can actually change it so that they have to put down the W first, wait a bit, and then reactivate it for the CC. And if they just reactivate it right away, it only does damage. And a lot of the features that don't really make it in solo, such as OCW, run it back, or just overly high tank stats sometimes, we'll be trying to activate them in squads. So, official release, by the time comes, we want our building to be as stable as possible instead of an illegal construction. A lot of the ideas that I just shared with you are really, really rough ideas. Please remember that. So give us a lot of feedback. Ideas will change throughout the polishing process as well. And we're going to be giving ourselves 2 months of polishing, which is the longest ever for Lumia Island, actually, now that we have some time to breathe. And the devil is in the details. Small one UI can help a player learn the game. One skill effect can attract the player to actually keep playing the game. So we're going to be looking and really scrutinizing the game and detailed. Yeah. So overall, we just want to make a fucking kick-ass game, okay? Remember to use Pajama Party, 1200 MP, Event MP, Pajama Party, 1200 free MP. Now, let's talk about the new test subjects. Theodore was famous within the company for being good looking. Rumors say that he's based on, okay, I can't say that. I'm sorry. But it's going to be a new sniper character. Really cool. Very excited. This should be soon. Jan. All right, guys. I'm going to warn you. This character is spooky, okay? And the next slide is going to be really scary. So this is what Leon looks like normally. But when she's haunted, she's really spooky. So I'm going to change to the next slide in 3 seconds. So close your eyes if you're not good at watching scary stuff, okay? 3, 2, 1. Ah! This is what she looks like when she is haunted. And she's going to have different effects when she's haunted as well. This is what I look like on the daily. This is me going to work. That was me last night working overtime. And that's going to be me when I go home to play my favorite game, Eternal Return. So we also have Banya, who is not actually a butterfly, but it's more focused on the hallucination aspect. And she's going to be using Arcana. And the long-awaited character, Arda. They're also going to be an Arcana character. We believe that the main point of Arda is the socks and slippers combo. Very deadly. I know you guys have been waiting for this character, so I'm so excited to share with you guys that Arda will be joining Eternal Return. And the final character I'm going to show you guys is Debbie and Marlene. It's going to be a twin character. And no, it's not Chogal. But yeah, so these are the characters that we wanted to show you guys so far. They're not going to be all Season 8, but, it's always exciting to show you guys where we are, what the future looks like. So I hope you guys can be excited along with us. And no, this character cannot wobble. And now for your favorite parts, here are the new skins. Here's the new Alina skin. New Irem skin. If you guys don't know what this is, you put snow in it and then you pinch it and it makes like a snow duck. I never knew about it until I came to Korea, but it's actually so cute. And I love that there's like small details like these in the game. Chloe's getting a new skin. Nina is getting like a bunny ear thing. And we have another bunny coming to Lumia Island. Isol. Very cute. And another animal coming to Lumia Island. Shukai. I absolutely love this skin. If you guys are ever playing Shukai Dodgeball, make sure you have this skin equipped, okay? And one of my new favorite skins that's gonna come out is the Eva Valentine skin. This is not part of the season pack, by the way, but yeah, really beautiful. It's gonna be part of the Valentine's event. Our director actually really wanted us to sell this, but yeah, we're going to be giving it away. Here's the new Laura skin coming out as well. This is in the same skin category or tag with Isaac and Hayes. And I know Alex has a really amazing skin that you guys love already, but here is the new Alex skin that's coming out soon. Is the skin for Theodore as well that's coming along with a new character. And this one is also very anticipated, and it's Brett Sus, who throws Bretson. So you can see here for throw, they throw bread, and for shurikens, they throw a butter knife. Really cute. Welcome to Wilson's Bakery. And with our collab with OP.GG, we're going to have Blue Felix as well. And this is also not part of the season pack. And here is a new William skin. We call it like the inhibitor of visuals. Sometimes characters look really similar, or sometimes they don't look as the way we want them. But we believe that for William, the inhibitor was the hat. So we got rid of the hat. And without the hat, he seems a fairly, really good looking guy. And here's the Leon skin that's going to come out with the character as well. And here are the season 9 new skins that are coming out. A lot of these are the skins that won the popularity vote. Here's the Bianca skin. You think the locker, or I guess the coffin, is the main point. You can't really see that well, but here is a picture of Bianca with their older brother as well. Here's the Alina skin. She's the president of Student Council. Alina is kind of like the situation with Rio previously, where Rio got a skin right before she won the popularity vote. So they're going to have a skin come out really close schedule. We hope you guys can understand. And no bias whatsoever, but this is one of my favorite skins as well. here's the Nikki skin that's gonna come out as well. And this is Wolf One's one of his favorites, and it's the Magnus skin. So this is going to be the bat. He's going to be using a stop sign, and this is going to be the hammer weapon. And the third place for the skin vote was Tia. So Tia will be also getting a new cool skin. Even the squirrel got a little nice hat. And Johan is ready to fight his demons. Yeah, it's pretty dripped out. I know, we know. And that's it for now. We have 9 more coming soon, but for now, that's all we're going to show you. So we're going to get to the Q&A section, and I know previously the Q&A section for the NAEU essay community has been fairly short, but we're going to help you guys, or maybe not help, maybe you guys have to sit through this, but yeah, here we go. Remember how I asked you guys to fill out a form beforehand? That's because we collected a lot of the questions that were appearing a lot often, and we decided to answer them. So regarding balance, a lot of times people ask why we use stats to balance. Well, the thing is that stats are the things that people can still kind of go with most. You know, you can say, I played about 20 rounds, but it doesn't make sense. Let's nerf them. 5 out of 10 rankers say this character is too strong. Let's nerf them. There's 100 posts saying this character is too strong. Let's nerf them. The character stats are too good, so let's nerf them. Out of these, we personally believe that the character stats are too good, so let's nerf them is the most subjective way to look at balance. A lot of the question and feedback we got was patches are inconsistent, but we followed the standards that we had given out last time. Especially this season, we push for it. Stat changes as well. Do you look at the stats and not actually play the game? No, actually. A lot of us play the game. Like, I was very surprised that I was surrounded by people that love Eternal Return as much as I do. So I feel really blessed. Why does Camilla have a rapier? Well, okay. So I think this was a bit translated differently, but the Camillo rapier incident of him being really strong on release, we actually told the developers and the makers to make Camillo rapier be weak if possible, but at the release it was too strong, which was an oversight. But we believe that we were able to kind of half fix it back to where it should be. And there are also questions regarding why separate weapons are not kept out of ranked, and that's because it actually takes a lot of development within the coding to do it. So, you really don't know how OP it is? We do. We see the complaints, we watch streams all day, we play the game when we go back home. Eternal Return is all we do, but even if we believe deep down that something is OP, we have to see if it's really true or not. Because sometimes a character can be OP for a day or two and then just be forgotten in like a week or two. XX.gg stats don't make sense. I think this is talking about how sometimes stats are overly high, but that's because a lot of times those stats are not really over a long period of time, so they're really changing. And one player can change how the stats look, especially when it's in such a close period of time. Are these only nimble stats? We post our stats on the patch notes, especially starting this season. And Nimble Neuron isn't fully understanding of how and why the stats are this way. This is obviously a hard balancing part, but stats are wrong. Stats should not be wrong. Good for a whole season. This is something that I see a lot, especially in the NA and EU community, is that they say that a character is overly strong for a long period of time, but when we look at the stats, this is usually not true. We address characters that are strong, and we usually address them a bit too much, so we have to buff them back, and they end up in this like limbo, and that's more of a character kit issue than the actual balance issue, and that's why we were going to be shaving off CC and utility as we go. And why do hotfixes have fixed dates? This is actually a question I also had as well, but it's just that the hotfixes a lot of the times just end up on dates that are pretty similar. It's not that hotfixes have a fixed date. It's just that after the weekends, you know, it's like Monday or Tuesday. So, yeah. Imbalance between risk and reward for characters. I think this is talking about how sometimes easy to play characters can have a high reward, but let me ask Wolf. 이게 그 고점이 높은 캐릭터들과 그 이제 쉬운데 강한 캐릭터 그런 거에 대해서 질문이 있었잖아요. 그거에 대해서 어떻게 생각하셨는지.
전체적으로 탑10을 구성하는 유저 올라가면은 이런 부분들이 떨어지면서 그 차이가 탑10하면은 더 그런 부분들이
네, 알겠습니다. Okay, so I wasn't able to answer this question, so I asked Wolf1 himself, the director, and he said the stats for this would seem a lot more balanced and fair if the top 1,000 at the moment was better and the quality of the matches were better. But at the moment, with the player base that we have now, it's not always going to be the most consistent. So we do apologize about that. But this is something that should work its kink out as the game fully goes. And the duo and squad metas are unnatural and unfair. And yeah, this is true. And that's why we're going to be focusing on squads. So test subject remake was also something that's brought up, especially in the NASA EU community. And it was, were there any future plans for character remakes? And I just wanted to clarify beforehand that we don't think that Fiora remake was a failure in that Fiora has become a worse character. We believe that the new Fiora is a healthier and better character than the old Fiora. That's 100%. But the only issue is that a whole total 108 change like that, players can also ask the question, why didn't you leave Fiora and just make a new character? And at that point, we don't have much to say because now a lot of the old Fiora players, don't have a home. And I still remember personally, Galzer was about to quit the game due to the Fiora remake. So this is like something that I feel really close to. And skill improvements and smaller changes, we are going to be working on it little by little. We actually had a small skill change with Tia, which was the Q blue was not going to knock up anymore due to the over CC that she had. But when we tried to change that, there were some issues with bugs, so we weren't able to push through it, and we did damage changes instead. But this is just letting you guys know that there are going to be skill changes in the future. And we're going to be working on the character structural problems. So low high returns, special skills barely used, these character stakes, they don't do anything. These are a lot of the times things that we hear from our players. And a lot of the times it's that overall CC utility is too much. And we're going to make a lot of adjustments over the patches until official release. And the fact is that details have no right answer. When we talk about characters and test subjects, when we have 5 people discussing about a character, there's 5 different opinions. We even had a 7-hour meeting for a single character, and we just had to go home and we said we'll talk about it the next time. That's why it's hard to give an answer about individual characters, especially during the dev stream as well. Next one is also a really, really very requested question about scenario or lore and story. And I like to talk about it a little bit, and it's that how existing characters came to the island. This is something that's been addressed a lot, especially with Iriam and Tazia having really vague answers to why they are on Lumia Island. And the previous ones that we've used as kidnapping, fraud, sacrifice, insanity, and infiltration. But the thing is, we can only recycle these to a certain extent. For example, infiltration, we can't have too many characters just all be infiltration, right? That it wouldn't be Lumia Island, it wouldn't make sense. And there's the dilemma of murder and reuse stories. And if you look at other battle royales too, this is like the overall gist of how stories tend to be. That you'll kill me if I don't kill you. Characters are on brink of sanity. Oh, it's not real killing though. And there's a probability of giving up. For Eternal Return, there's the part where they can't reclaim their memories or long-term relationships. And there's disappointment in character diversity between the players. So we apologize about that. There's the missing of survival game that people have requested. But we also feel like there could be a light setting and character-only focus to approach story. And the reason the story has been so lacking so far, and sorry if this sounds like an excuse, is that our original plan was that we would have 2 separation of stories where it was test subjects before coming to the island and test subjects who came to the island. But what happened was that description based on still unfinished and unreleased settings, such as Iram and Tazia that I talked about before, it doesn't really fit the original content, and it's going to take us a longer time to organize. So in regards to development schedule, this was looking like we have a lot of stuff to do to improve the game. It's minimum 500. And the amount we can do in one season in 3 months is around like 100. And this is why a lot of the times people will ask, it's so easy to change this, why don't you do it? Or this improvement can be good, why don't you do it? It's just that in every patch, there are improvements that we do that are both big and small that are usually at the bottom. And players don't really read it too much, but you should read it. I think it really shows that Nimble Neuron is working their hardest to develop a better game and improve the game. And the 2 do lists being massive, there's different priorities as well. So we would have something on the list, and then someone would say this needs improvement. So we would have to go back, and then this needs to be done first. So we actually have to change priority and push it back. Now let's add this small improvement to the development list, and that goes to either the way back or the way front, depending on the speed. So the roadmap. The roadmap isn't being updated was something that was feedbacked a lot, and that's because we had a lot of changes in our plan as a company, as previously mentioned. So we apologize about that. Are there any plans to up the player base? Yes, obviously there are plans to up the player base. It's not like we can release a patch like patch 0.76, players plus 10,000. It doesn't work like that. It's something we will develop throughout the game and improve the game, and hopefully we get good results soon. Could the design of the roadmap change every season? I think I'll have to ask about this. We'll get back to you on that later, because so the bottom, the Q&A, like the question part, was really roughly translated. So yeah. So the real new maps we added, probably way later, if anything, because at the moment, I think Lumia Island is the main priority. Possibility of PvE mode. We will have somewhat of a campaign mode for the tutorial, which is being worked on by a separate team, but that's not in the priority list at the moment. Are there plans for a 5-5 teamfight map? This is a similar question to the new maps, and the same answer goes there. But at the hacking system, this is still in the works, but it is just getting pushed back due to optimization and other aspects of the game. Nickname for long-term inactive players. This is something I see a lot, but inactive players' nicknames are actually being opened up already. And it's been like that for a long time. So, yeah. What previous system and contents would you like to bring back? I think Wolf Director said that they want to bring back like an SD, like a little nice rest place that they can have characters in for the loading screen, or not loading screen, the lobby screen. Will you not delete content when it becomes too much? Well, we'll see what happens with the battlegrounds. With the battle zones, and we'll see how directions of the game goes there. And what's Wildfighter? This is like a mobile game, and we also recently found out about it, but it's being worked on by like a separate team. So we aren't really sure about what it's about, honestly. So sorry about the lack of information. Why did you extend the season? I even took time off to match the end of it. This was originally by a Korean who was in the military, and they took a vacation day from military to play Eternal Return, but unfortunately we had to extend the season due to the lack of fun that Battlezones originally had. The employees even play the game. I can 100% tell you that we do play the game, and we hecking love the game. So items. Need to purchase a nickname change with Acorn. I think they are considering this, but at the moment, if you have an inappropriate nickname, we force your name back to test subjects, and you have to change your nickname. And this is like the punishment that we give. So if you're able to change with Acorns, this might change. Goods worth buying with EP. This will probably be delayed until we're more settled with the game itself. Any plans to re-release the past skins? Yes, we do have plans in the future. Achievements per character. We'll have to consider it. Are there any plans to reduce the amount of MP used to purchase points in the ER pass? This is going to be something that's going to be looked at throughout the business models throughout. Can you sell the ER pass for a little less? Once again, a business model. MP gifting. So MP gifting disappearing was a question that players had a lot. And it's just that with the way Steam works, there are players who are able to buy MP for cheaper and sell it to other players. And there weren't really ways we could stop it at the moment. So for now, we've paused MP gifting. MP plans to sell something like last year's Christmas map skin. We'll have to see, but the thing about the maps is that each season, we actually update the maps a little by little bit. So, for example, the Uptown and Temple change, that kind of stuff. If we had a skin for that map, we would actually have to do a whole skin for that as well, and it would be consistently changing. I bought something I regret a few times. Is there any way to cancel separately, withdrawal, or refund? You'll have to do it through our help desk, as this is related to Steam as well. So having an automated refund button is really hard. Why are there 3 skins in the pass? We believe that this is like a good number to include in a pass and have like a theme setup as well. Are there any plans to make a skin rarity higher than epic? Which I'm guessing they mean legendary, but at the moment, no, because making a legendary skin would be a lot of pressure, and it would probably be requiring about the same effort of making like a test subject. So at the moment, at least, it's not in the priority list. So lobby. Is there going to be a bridge between Titan and Immortal? We do see like the need for it, so we'll be implementing it. We don't know when. It might be in the middle of a season. And the character sorting is stupid. Can you fix it? Yeah, this should be coming with new player help. Cases where there are 16, 17 people who and then leave, that's just the MMR system leaving you, which is very unfortunate, but it's because the way it works is that you need to wait a certain amount of time. You have to be at certain MMR gap. So it's really specific with the way it works. And the cases where someone who got left behind gets left behind again, it's the same issue. Special mastery for each weapon. There are too many problems. Please get rid of accepting matches. We actually considered this for team modes. For solos. But we'll have to see as well. Sound effects for season pack boxes. Newbie players meeting too high elo players This should be solved with the player base increasing eventually, hopefully. Is there any equipment for returning players? 새로운 유입하신 분들은 So with the new tutorials, we're actually going to be having more rewards within the tutorial system. So returning players could come back and actually claim those as well. Please add more practice mode hotkeys. The practice mode is not in the priority list at the moment. And tutorial, we've talked a lot. So I did not get shot. I was not sure what the answer was, so I had to ask Director Neem. So for gameplay, any thoughts on radar upgrades? We think radar is already being used, so I don't feel like radar needs an upgrade in specific. And augment somewhere left in the gutter. This will be touched upon in the future. 10-0 matchups, unfortunately, is a thing in solos. And this is really hard to think about because technically, if it's a 6-4 matchup, like a 60-40, that's a 100-0 matchup as long as both sides play too much. So the whole 10-0 matchup idea is really difficult to balance around. And we believe it's just a toxic trait of the solo queue or solo mode in general. So third-party issues, we are solving bit by bit. We had like the ping system change as well previously. And matchmaking is too wide. Hopefully this is also changing with the player base. Final zone issues. If the final zone is still an issue in the future and Battle Zone seems to be a really good replacement for it, we are considering actually changing final zones into a battle zone as well. What about revive in solos? We are considering it. We'll have to try it and see how it goes. Weapon skill changes. It is in the works, especially for some abilities, but especially Tanfa and Shuriken, there will be some changes in the upcoming. New weapon type characters release and balance. This was similar to the Camilo change. At the moment, we can't really separate character into ranked modes. So if you wanted to ban Camilo Rapier, we would have to ban DS Camilo, which is not fair for the players. So at the moment, we'll just either wait until it's a preseason to release new weapon types or just release them really weak. Why do tank items exist in solos? Well, we think that tank items that exist and used in solos is really different from the ones that are actually used in team modes. But yeah, we'll continue balancing the items. Can we get more augment information in the post-lobby screen? Well, okay. Post-lobby screen as in like the post-game screen, I'm guessing is what this means. And it's that the game itself and the end game actually is like playing different clients, or not clients, but different resources. So it's actually not that easy to, put an insert into the game. Please change it so I can't hyperloop on top of an enemy. In team modes, we will have a hyperloop for teammates now, but for solos, we believe that's a risk that is part of the game so far. Please get rid of acceleration gate at night 1 and lower auto revives to day 2. This is something that's always in talks, even within the development team, but this is something that we're going to have to keep looking over and monitoring and keep trying out and polishing and see where it goes as well. Why meteorites randomly drop versus Tree of Life? Well, Tree of Life is a tree, so we need a tree to be there, whereas meteors fall from the sky. But there may be some changes to how this works in the future as well if we are able to put more Tree of Lives around the map. Let us select our starting weapon. For example, Glove versus Knuckles. This will be reworked for the new players and players, as this is really confusing for new players when it's like a build that starts glove, but then you have to pick up a knuckle and you have to drop the glove. So we're going to work on that and we're going to try to change some of that. And unfair traits of character. So this is like a question I was very often asked. How come this character gets to jump a wall? How come this character gets to jump a wall twice? how come they can push check when I can't push check? But we hope you guys see this as like, just a characteristic of the character. It's like their quirk. It's what differentiates them from other characters rather than just being a skin to other characters. The Cobalt Protocol, is Cobalt Protocol supposed to be a light mode? Yes. Any plans to add a ranking system? Not yet. Does Cobalt matching also have MMR? Yes. Change infusions and equipment from random drops to purchasable, and certain infusions are too strong. Regarding infusions, for the purchase one, we are considering it. The certain infusions are too strong part. When we look at Cobalt stats, it's really odd, but just because you get strong infusions doesn't always mean that you win. But we will continue balancing the game, not especially, but also in Cobalt mode. You should have violations for staring or unsportsmanlike play. We are punishing them. We do ban users or punish users that do use unsportsmanlike play or swears, because these are really easy to keep track of, obviously, especially swears, because that's in the chat log. For unsportsmanlike play, if it's one or twice where they have left the game, like the next question, we sometimes look over a longer scale, just because sometimes stuff happens in real life and it's not really up to them. Please remove silent slow when reviving. Yep, we are looking to revive it. We find it frustrating as well. Please add a system to surrender. We feel like at the moment, Cobalt Protocol doesn't really need a system for surrender because the game is really short and it's supposed to be like a chill mode. The technology, please adjust mouse cursor size. The first letter doesn't input when you hit and enter quickly. These two are going to be addressed in 0.75 patch, which is going to be the Unity moving patch. What about running a test server? The thing about test server is that even in other games, it's not really that effective because of the lack of player base. And right now, we're really unsure if Eternal Return test server would actually have enough players for accurate information as well. So we're thinking about it, but we're a bit iffy about it. Why can't you fix the rank score display bug? So this is similar to like a bug we had previously, is that once we are able to see why a bug happens and like a log and where it's happening, it's a lot easier. But it seems like the rank score display bug is just, we're not sure how to replicate it yet, so it's taking a bit longer than we intended. Anti-cheats, we actually don't use that bad of an anti-cheat. We have purchased anti-cheats from the same company that the other MOBA game company has purchased, but obviously they have a more premium one, so we hope you guys can understand. We'll work on it as we go. When we file bug reports on Trello, there's been cases of other games doing that, but a lot of the times bug reports get flooded, and sometimes bug reports also happens in a way where it's players might think it's a bug when it's not actually a bug, and then when it's not logged, they might get angry, and it was a lot of mess for other games, so we are reluctant. Is it possible to add smart keys for skills that have first and second hit? This would be a lot of development, so at the moment, no. When will you optimize? We've addressed this previously. When will you upgrade to Unity 2021? 0.75, as previously mentioned. Will you fix the problem with the game crashing for no reason? We've been fixing a lot of issues with game crashes overall. The only issue is that the game crashes for multiple reasons. If we would do a patch to fix one of the reasons, then it would create another reason, and sometimes it's a software that the player has, sometimes it's the hardware that the player has. So it's a lot of things that we have to change and like address. So it's not a simple fix. So we hope you guys can understand that it's a long-term issue. Wickline location not appearing, bug, and this is about why it was taking so long to change. And it's that if we changed it on a minor patch, it might have caused like a really major bug that we would have not been sure, because a hotfix is a really light bug, light change. So sometimes it might not be the best to have bigger changes or bigger bug fixes until the major patch as well. Unity engine is well known for having a lot of problems. Are there plans to move to a new engine? As far as we know, every engine is well known for having a lot of problems, but we'll try our best. Loading takes forever. We're addressing this later on as well. So that's all the prepared questions so far, and we'll be taking some questions. Sadly, I've gone for so long and I've blabbered on for so long as well. So I've kept Wolf 1 here too long. So we'll only take a few questions in chat. But yeah, if there's any questions in chat, we'll be answering them. So if you guys have any questions, just let us know. Are we still getting a Windy announcer pack? 윈디님, 그 어나운서 팩에 관한 질문이 있거든요.
아, 어제 오셨는데 회사에 그 군대 지금은 군인이신 분이어서 네, 그 한국 그 제가 알기로는 한국 법상 군인 신분으로는 이제 그런 수익 활동을 할 수 없다고 알고 있습니다. 네, 그래서 돌아오시면 네.
So the thing about the Windy announcer pack is that Windy is currently in the Korean military, and for legal reasons, people in the military are not allowed to make money or work or make products like that. So we would have to wait until he is out of the military. Will we ever get more servers upon full release? 공식 출시했을 때 다른 서버들도 나올 수 있는.
뭐 저희는 언제든지 그 이제 더 많은 지역으로 이렇게 가서 이제 플레이어분들을 만나고 싶은데 서버를 늘리는 건 이제 좀 어느 정도 플레이어 규모가 될 때마다 이렇게 좀 하나씩 늘릴 수 있지 않을까라고 생각을 하고 있습니다.
So regarding the new servers upon release, instead of having official release be like the deadline, we hope we can increase the player base as time goes on. Let's see. How do we get the other skins that are in the Season 8 pack? The Season 8 pack skins that is not in the past is either going to be purchasable or you can buy the pack and get all the skins at once. When will the 0.7 patch with the Unity changes be released? 0.75 to be precise. Is there any updates on the removal of green items? 그때 초반에 이제 그 초록색 아이템들을 제거한다는 질문이 말이 있었었잖아요. 그거는 이제 계속 진행할지 어떤지 문의가 있었는데요.
그러니까 애초에 계획은 그렇게 아이템 가짓수를 줄인다였는데 이제 정식 오픈 계획으로 바뀌면서 아이템 그 재료 숫자를 줄이는 다른 종류의 방법, 예를 들어 장식을 크레딧으로 판매한다던가 이렇게 되면 사실 거의 같은 효과가 될 것 같아요. 풀 루트를 만드는데 25개 정도의 재료가 필요한데 이제 그게 한 20개 정도 되는 효과가 거의 비슷해질 거라서 이제 그거에 따라 좀 달라질 수 있을 것 같습니다. 이게 좀 그런 것들이 적용된 다음에 그래도 모자라면 아마 좀 더 진행이 될 것 같긴 한데 전면적으로 모든 그 초록색을 없애진 않을 것 같습니다. 네.
So regarding the removal of green items or uncommon items when looting, is that since we have items that is actually, or we have a lot of new changes coming out for the new players and the beginning day one cycle, we're gonna have to see the changes there first and see how it affects the gameplay before actually moving on with the green removal. Especially because the time should be pretty similar apparently, so we'll have to see. So for skins that are not able to be purchased or not in the past, there's going to be events likely. Why are NA stats allowed to influence top 1000? Also, 해가지고 조금 요즘 친구들이 궁금해하는 게 지금 북미에서는 그 게임들이 진행을 했을 때 솔직히 똑같은 사람들 18명이 이제 같이 게임을 하다 보니까 통계가 정확하지가 않을 수 있는데 이 글로벌 탑 1000에 이제 임팩트가 있는데 그거에 대해서 어떻게 생각하시는지 그게 통계를 좀 이제 안 좋게 변경할 수 있는 부분인지 그런 거에 대해서 문의하고 있네요.
일단 통계는 가장 기본적으로는 모든 서버를 합쳐서 다 같이 이제 그냥 저희가 어쨌든 최대한 많은 모수로 이 표본으로 이렇게 하기 때문에 전체적으로 하기 때문에 아마 이제 그런 부분들은 좀 아주 큰 영향을 가지진 않을 거라고 생각을 하고 근데 이제 예를 들어 NA 서버에서 생기는 좀 그쪽 서버에만 고유하게 생기는 문제들이 있으면은 이제 이 AI님께서 저희한테 이제 전달해 주시고 그런 부분들에 대해서 이제 좀 다시 집중적으로 보는 이런 정도로만 이제 사용된다고 보면 될 것 같습니다.
네, 알겠습니다. So for regarding the different balance changes in NA and NA affecting the stats in top 1000, we've always been doing top 1000 global, and unfortunately that's just how it is because of the differing player bases and each reason. But if there are ever any specific or really important changes that need to be made for the NA EU SA servers, then the community team and the global team will let developer team know. EU server low elo rank doesn't start, but higher elo might pop. Can both queues be merged? We want to play ranked as well, but don't want to be played ranked in other servers. 그래가지고 유럽 쪽에서는 지금 이제 오히려 높은 랭크는 게임이 진행되는데 낮은 랭크에서는 랭크가 없다라는 말이 나와가지고 혹시 해외 쪽을 그런 상황을 도와줄 수 있는 방법이 있을지에 대한 문의가 있는데요. 이것도 플레이어 베이스 때문에 어쩔 수 없는 문제일까요?
무슨 문제 때문에?
그 플레이어 베이스 때문에
플레이어
어쩔 수
베이스.
없는
그렇죠. 그러니까 사실 그거는 이제 플레이어 베이스가 고정적일 때는 매칭 범위를 얼마나 넓게 잡느냐와 관련된 문제인 것 같은데 이제 랭크에 처음 들어오는 플레이어들이 상위권 플레이어들이랑 같이 매칭돼도 괜찮은가 이런 부분이 판단이 필요한 것 같은데 아예 안 돌아가는 것보다는 그냥 그렇게라도 매칭되는 게 낫다라고 판단이 되면 좀 넓힐 수는 있을 것 같아요. 좀 더 근데 이 브론즈 실버가 좀 더 훨씬 높은 티어랑 만난다 이런 것들이 이제 좀 플레이어들이 용납할 수 있는가 이런 문제들이 제일 좀 고민되는 부분인 것 같습니다.
So regarding the low elo ranks not popping and high elos popping, and maybe having a thought on merging them, the issue with that would be is that if you have a really high elo player and a really low elo player in the same lobby, that itself might break balance and might not be unfair, but might not be fair. And the issue with that is like the player base issue at the moment. But hopefully, I personally hope that the new player, all the changes that we do for the new players and all the new tutorials that we have can actually have new players come in and help you guys in EU pop low elo ranked as well. I really hope there's more promotion for the game in NA and EU. No one has heard of this game, and the daily player base is dwindling. I can't get in a match. 이거는 북미랑 해외 쪽 마케팅 그거라서 제가 하겠습니다. 저는 정식 출시되면은 이제 좀 더 해외 쪽에서도.
그러니까 지금은 고객 유지율이나 이런 리텐션 레이트 때문에 한국에서도 사실 마케팅을 거의 안 하고 있는 상태이고. 그러니까 올해 상반기까지는 좀 했었는데 지금 한 시즌 7부터는 거의 안 하고 있고 저희가 내부적으로 좀 이 게임이 많이 개선되고 초보자 동선이 좋아지면은 정식 오픈을 기해서 지금 있는 서버들은 NA랑 유럽은 열심히 저희 퍼블리셔도 있고 같이 마케팅을 좀 진행할 계획입니다.
So for NA, EU, and SA. And yes, I did say SA. At the moment, there isn't really much marketing. We did have some marketing plans, but it changed with the games changing soon. And at the moment, the retention rate is not the greatest. So we want to make sure we have a solid foundation before we market to the player base as well. And once we officially release and the game is better, and once we have a higher retention rate, then will actually look into marketing the game more. In fact, even now, even in Korea, the marketing has gone down a bit, and we've put less power on that until the retention is gonna become better. Okay, we'll take one more question. Can we ban smurfing? 부캐를 정지하는 그런 쪽은 생각해 보신 적이 있는지라는 문의가 있었거든요. 네.
그 공식적으로 저희가 이게 그 부계정인지 아닌지를 알 수 있는 방법이 없습니다. 그 스팀이 저희에게 이제 그런 유저 정보를 주지 않기 때문에 최대한 저희가 그러니까 뭐 이 정말 노골적인 형태로 하지 않는 한 사실 저희가 그거를 확인할 수 있는 방법이 좀 이렇게 어렵고 언제나 가장 이상적인 거는 부계정을 할 필요가 없는 그런 게임을 만드는 거라고 생각을 하는데 가급적 플레이어분들도 이제 그런 여러 개의 계정을 만들기보다는 본계정으로 많이 플레이를 해주시면 좋을 것 같습니다.
So regarding smurfing and punishments against smurfing, the issue with that is right now we are using the Steam platform, and Steam doesn't really openly share information about accounts, roughly so, to the games. So at the moment, we would have a hard time actually finding out which person or which player is smurfing and not smurfing. But rather, we'll actually focus on making the game better and a better environment that players don't actually need to actively smurf. And yeah, I think that was the last question we'll take for now. Thank you guys so much for watching. I was really nervous, and I know I am not the best speaker. I stutter here and there, especially when my brain hasn't slept a good bit. But thank you guys for being here, and 인사. Thank you so much for being here with us as well. We always appreciate you and all you do for us. Everyone, can you guys type "We love Wolf"? 그리고 인사하고 싶으면 인사해 주셔도 됩니다.
언제나 그 개발팀의 입장에서는 저희가 이제 만든 게임을 플레이해 주시는 거가 저희에게 최대의 기쁨인 것 같습니다. 그래서 그리고 이 게임을 플레이할 분들로 귀한 시간을 내서 데브 스트리밍까지 보러 와주시는 게 너무 감사드리고 저희가 더 재밌는 게임 만들어서 앞으로도 오래오래 만날 수 있으면 좋을 것 같습니다. 감사합니다.
He said, and I also believe this too. Thank you guys so much for coming and watching Eternal Return. Not just the dev stream, but all of the things that we do. And we'll make sure that we make a good game for you guys, a fun game for you guys, a great game for you guys. And we hope to see you guys for a long, long time. Thank you again. Q-Ranked.
네.
You can control your dreams if you set your mind to it.
Do I really have to do this?
Now it's my turn.
All right, let's have some fun.